Good morning, everybody. It's Friday, September 22nd. Just going to run through the morning charts here. This morning we're seeing gold break above yesterday's resistance level. We had this trading range that it was chopping around in for a couple days. This morning around 4 o'clock it broke up and has touched the $1,300 mark. And I've mentioned to a couple people that $1,300, it's a whole number. It naturally will find some resistance there simply because people look to take profits at 1300. People look to put stops in there. It's just a number. Any type of whole number, a round solid number like that, will act as support or resistance depending what side of it you're on. So I have a feeling we might get a pierce of that today. Could get a spike up or something, and then I have a feeling we'll fall back down to support or right back into this range and then just chop around for the rest of the day. But I know some of you are short gold, and if you are, if we get a close above 1300, I don't really think you want to be short gold. That would be a pretty bullish sign. I'm expecting it to touch that, flirt with it all day, but I'm not expecting it to close above 13. And if it does, then it's actually a bullish sign. So I'd be careful for anybody who's short precious metals. And it's one of the reasons why I haven't wanted to take a counter trend trade to try and short it yet, simply because it's very strong still. And with the quantitative easing, it's been holding up. Anyways, here's the 60-minute chart of gold. You can see it's touched the $1,300 mark this morning. It just kind of rose up and touched. It's just starting to sell down a bit now. Nothing much though. And it's going to flirt, I think, around this 1300 mark all day. Could ping pong between 1295 and 1300. We'll see what happens there. But you can see it's broken above this upper resistance. Let me just change time frames here. You can see it's broken above this upper channel, and it's just going to be flirting, I guess, with this 1300 mark. We'll see what happens, but until there's a really good reason and a good intraday pattern and daily pattern to short for a counter trend trade, I wouldn't be trying to pick a top here. Better to just let it kind of play out, and when it pulls back, if we get a good setup, we'll try and take a counter trend trade. But if it does pull back without a good setup, we'll be looking to buy a dip. So that's what I'm thinking for gold right now. If we take a look at the US dollar, this is a daily chart. We've had since late August, we've had a really good move down, which has really helped fuel gold. The thing is, oil is pretty much traded sideways while the US dollar has dropped. And if the US dollar does get a bounce, which I think it could get a bounce still, not a big one, but I think a bounce up to the 82 or 82.5 area, it will put some pressure on oil for sure, and it'll also put a little bit of pressure on the equities market. Now if we take a look at oil, pretty much from the August high, which was in the US dollar, it put a low in oil, and oil's pretty much, it's only traded up just a little bit. It's created a bear flag, and if we see the US dollar bounce, which I've mentioned a few times, I think we're going to see a test of these lows, and possibly even a larger test down to the 68 area. But oil's been holding up pretty good, and I'm surprised actually it hasn't gone much higher with the sell-off in the dollar. But so somebody is somewhat holding it down, but there's not a whole lot of action in it right now. It's just chopping sideways, so we're waiting for a setup there. Now if we take a look at the SP 500, this is a 15-minute chart, a 24-hour clock, so we can see through the night. More or less what we're getting here, let me just scroll to current time here. Okay, so here we've got we had this huge run up in overnight trading back there last Thursday, Friday, and the way futures trading works, I've mentioned this several times, usually whichever trend it goes during the night, it usually flips during the day. So through the nighttime back here last Thursday, Friday, not this week but last week, we saw it move up in the night really big, shake people out and stops, and then the market opened and it sold down, and then it moved back up through the night, and then it chopped around. But what I'm trying to show here is you can see through the night over here it starts to change direction. Here we get a pullback and through the night, and then you get a pop during the day, and then through the night here we got a move up, and then just this week we saw a big sell-off, and then it had a recovery bounce and moved back down. And yesterday yesterday through the night there. In the morning we saw a bear flag form. It went up in the morning. We saw a nice sell-off just before the markets opened, and then we had a nice rally into the open during the morning, and then we saw a sell-off yesterday afternoon. And this morning we've seen another more or less bear flag, a drift back up, and we're trading under this 200 period moving average. And so I'm thinking we're going to find some resistance here today, and because it's moved up in futures trading, we'll probably see the big guys unload the institutions, probably come back, test this low here. If we do get a continued move up, which I pointed out in the charts yesterday afternoon, it's very likely, a lot of times what we'll see is we'll see the market slowly make this shift and start to roll over and start to show bear, instead of bull flags, we're starting to see bear flags. A lot of times we'll get one really good shakeout. It'll break a couple previous highs, and so we could see it still come up and test up into these highs in here, and before it really drops. And that's what happens quite often. This whole topping is a process. And let me just zoom out to another time frame here just to get more picture. Okay, so we had a nice move up, trended up for several days here, and then the market started to become toppy. And most of the time what we found here is through, you can't see it because this futures contract wasn't trading much, but most of the time we'd see a small pullback through the night, and then it would rally in the morning. We'd see a small pullback through the night and push up, and that's what happens usually in an uptrend. And then the market started to get toppy, and we started to get some reverse moves. We started to get moves up in the night and then down in the day, and it started to flip back and forth. And once it starts to get choppy like this and starts to reverse patterns through the night and the day, we know there's a top or at least a correction coming, and the market's getting overdone, and we should be aware of a possible rollover. So this morning, again, we're looking at possibly a bit higher this morning, but I do feel as though the trend has started to reverse down. We do have a couple key support levels we need to break. We do need to break, I'd like to break this level right here, which is about the 1115 area. Once it breaks 1115, we should go to a gap fill, which will be not a whole lot lower, but once it fills that gap, I think we'll be trading significantly lower, and the trend will be down, and people will be actually shorting any bounces, and the market will start to head lower. So that's what I'm looking at this morning. If we take a quick look at the VIX, I pulled up a couple days here. We started to get a nice uptick yesterday, and of course as the VIX goes up, the market comes down because there's fear into the market, and so we're just going to let that unfold. Anyways, that's about it for now, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye bye.